Bump and Run with Bernie and Dahlby. Presented by Burrito Express, your local burrito joint. Now, here's Brett Bernheisel and Steve Dahlby.
All right. This is podcast number two. Not three, but two. We were going to do two last week, but Dahlby, you're a busy individual, and you were in San Diego at Torrey Pines again. So before we get to golf, how does somebody go to San Diego for 10 days? Well, in fact, 2 weeks ago, you're there for the U.S. Open, 3 weeks ago. Go to San Diego for 10 days, leave on a Saturday, come home, and then go back on a Monday. I mean, isn't it easier to rent the Motel 6 for the entire 3 weeks than it is to come home and then fly back and do this all over again?
Well, had I known it was going to work out like this, I probably would have just been better off renting a place for a month and enjoying the weather over there. But as it was, Troy Merritt qualified for the U.S. Open. I'm looking at my calendar here. He qualified on June 7th. So on June 14th, I headed over. That was the 14th through the 20th of June. And then on the 26th, we had a 2-week family vacation, which happened to be over there at Mission Beach. Rented a house and just took it easy for a couple weeks. And then a couple of my junior golfers qualified for Junior Worlds, which is at Torrey Pines. And so, yeah, I drove back from San Diego on Saturday and then got on a plane Monday and headed back over there and worked. There was a practice round Monday at Torrey, and then I stayed for the first 2 rounds of the tournament. And the Junior Worlds is a big deal in the world of junior golf. It's the different age groups. The big one is the 15 to 18 age group, girls and boys. The boys happened to play on the South at Torrey, and they actually played. It was kind of cool. They played the U.S. Open pins through the week, so that was nice. A lot of college coaches over there. So there's one kid that I worked with who's committed to go to USC, but I had another kid who I was trying to get a little bit of interest, so wanted to talk to some coaches. And the good news was my soon-to-be USC player won the tournament. So he, Gavin Aurelia, it's Rich Aurelia, the baseball player. His youngest son. We've had him on the show. We've had him on the show. His son won, and it was a nice way to start his 2 weeks. He obviously played Junior Worlds last week. He won the tournament, and then this week, starting tomorrow, he's at the U.S. Junior Amateur over in Pinehurst. So busy couple weeks for him before he starts college golf. It was good, and it's a good tournament. It's a great win because if you did you play in it?
I played in it twice. Never won, but I played in it twice. I played in it when I was 13 and 14 at I don't remember the court, but my 14 to 16 year we played at Balboa somewhere. But yeah, I played in Junior World twice. I actually maybe had a chance to have the lead at the final round one year, and let's just say I had a meltdown. I think I finished 5th, but you know what? Yeah, Junior World, and not to interrupt you, but I think it's really cool. When we did our podcast, 10 days ago or whatever, and you talked about having 18 wins as a coach on the PGA Tour with all the guys you've had. But the voice in you, when you called me and you said, my guy won the Junior World, was so cool because it was I think it was completely different for you because it wasn't a professional win. Which your guys out there, every now and then they win a tournament, but now you have a 18-year-old or 17-year-old kid that you're teaching that you've taught for a long time that wins honestly the biggest junior golf tournament in the world, and that's a cool thing.
Yeah, no, it is, and there was a big list of winners. They have a big sign out there that they brought out, and he'll join that next year. And it started in 1968. I'm looking at it right now. Craig Statler, Nick Price, John Cook, Corey Pavin, David Toms, Tiger Woods, obviously, Nota Begay, Pat Perez, Joe Kreibel, Kevin Stadler, Anthony Kim, just some really real Jason Day. Then you look, Emilio Grillo, of the younger guys, Bo Hostler, Joaquin Niemann won it twice in 15 and 16.
Wow.
Think about that. He won it in 15 and 16, and look at what he's doing now. So it's really for Gavin, it shows that he belongs, and I think that it shows too that if things go the way that maybe we think they might, he's got a chance to maybe do more damage at Torrey down the road.
And you taught, you've taught Sean O'Hare since he was that age or even younger. I mean, when you win such a pristine event like Junior World, I mean, is it like the sky's the limit for somebody like that? Is it a Sean O'Hare career, or is it how do you rate that as far as a coach? Because you've taught, O'Hare since he was whatever, and now you're teaching Gavin. Is there comparisons, or is it just whatever it is?
Yeah, well, I think a little bit of it is obviously you compare, and I look at the juniors over the years that I've worked with, and as he moves into college, there's a chance for some really good things to happen with him. The interesting thing, I said they played the pins of the U.S. Open. The golf course was much different. The rough was down. They played it up a little bit. Gavin hits it 3 miles, and his miss is a little bit of a push. So even that practice round, I knew that this set up well for him, because the golf course was a perfect situation where he could bomb it. His miss would be in play, and he's pretty good with his wedges and his putters. So it was a good formula. And then obviously that sounds great on Monday, but to pull it off over 4 rounds of golf, that's very satisfying as a coach to see that happen.
Well, congratulations to you. By the way, Thank you for getting me this U.S. Open hat that my wife has now stolen.
She likes it.
She does like it, and it does fit her, so she will be wearing this now. But thank you very much. So let's talk about what happened today. The British Open. I'm going to call it the British Open because Collin Morikawa called it the British Open.
Yes, he did. I kind of liked it.
In his acceptance speech, he called it the British Open. Now, when he had to go back about 10 minutes later or 8 minutes later, he called it the Open, but he called it the British Open. Now, I've told you on this show, there's podcasts, this is our second one. I told you on the first podcast that back in the day when I had a radio show here in the Valley, that Andrew McGee called me out because I called it the British Open, and he got really mad at me. And he really did. And we haven't talked since then because I haven't seen him since then, but whatever. Do you have a problem with him calling it the British Open, or should it be called the Open Championship, as Dustin Johnson said in his interview the other day before the tournament started? Well, I call it the Open Championship because that's what it's called, or should it be called the British Open?
Yeah, I think you refer to it as the Open Championship, but for us, we call it the British Open. It's fine. I think it was, I'm guessing Collin probably kind of slipped with that. It just came out. I generally call it the Open Championship, but I'll forget and call it the British Open. But I kind of thought it was funny a little bit, and it's all good. And especially on a Ryder Cup year, I think it was okay to call it the British Open. Did you see Kisner's hat the other day?
I did not.
1776, red, white, and blue.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I like Kis.
I liked it. Yep. So
I like Kis because he's not afraid to have a few beers and talk his mind. He reminds me a lot of myself. He reminds me a lot of myself, except he's younger and a lot skinnier. But yeah, he reminds me a lot of myself, and that's the way that I talk. But I like the fact that that Morikawa speech today when he won, and he's 24 years old. 24 years old. He's got 5 victories in his first 50 events. 2 of them are majors. He sounded like a polished 35-year-old speaking when he won the tournament. I thought it was one of the coolest speeches I've ever seen. I mean, he congratulated the amateur. He congratulated everybody. He thanked everybody. 24 years old, and what he's accomplished so far in the world of golf in such a short time. I was very, very the interview, the press conference. I was very impressed by everything he did today.
Very, very polished. Obviously,
unbelievable.
physically his game is very polished. But then, as you say, take golf away as a 24-year-old kid.
Yeah.
He's that kid that if you were a father, you want to have your kid have that polish, have that poise, have that just that ability to stay calm in that situation and make a great speech. He's a smart kid. He went to Cal. The funny thing, Bernie, and you said it, he's 24 years old. My wife and I were watching, and I did watch a little bit of golf today. I tell you, I don't watch much golf when Troy or my guys aren't playing, and I don't.
And you don't.
But I did watch that. But it was we were thinking, and it was just 2 years ago, that Morikawa beat Troy Merritt in the Reno tournament, which is not the biggest tournament in the world, for his first PGA Tour win. So you think of how far he's come in just those 2 years to be a two-time major champion. And today, just a very, very solid round of golf. 4 birdies and 14 pars, and it really, I think, the 7th hole was where it all happened. He makes birdie, Oosthuizen makes bogey, and that was sort of where the tide turned a little bit, and I bet Jordan Spieth is kicking himself for that finish yesterday, but he just
absolutely 100%.
Morikawa just took the tournament and did what he needed to do to win the Claret.
The way that and you've known me for a while, I don't get up at 4:00 in the morning. Okay, I'm not a 4:00 guy.
That's for damn sure.
I never have been unless I caddied on tour, because maybe sometimes my guys had the first tee time, whatever. But I watched the whole entire thing today. What shocked me was the way that Oosthuizen played. I really thought he was going to win the tournament. And we'll talk about this later. Me and Schubert will come on and we'll mute you. We'll talk about some of the financial things that might have happened in my life today. But that Morikawa, he made every putt that he had to make today. When you didn't expect him to make it, he made it. When you thought he'd make it, he made it. And it just kept going over and over and over. And even, the Spieth made such a great move today. And I'll tell you what, and I'm gonna say it right now. If Jon Rahm could putt, Jon Rahm would have won the British Open this week. He missed so many putts inside 12 feet that lipped out or hung over the edge. It was incredible. I'm not going to take anything away from Morikawa, but Jon Rahm, he hit it so good today and putted so bad that there's a reason why he's the number 1 or 2 players in the world. But I'm going to change the subject real quick, and I'm going to put you point spot. Ready? Here we go.
Okay.
Is Collin Morikawa the best golfer under the age of 28?
I think he is. Yeah, I think so. It's a lot of good young players.
There is.
I think he's the best. And I mean, he's won these 2 quicker than most, and so he's the guy. He would be the top young player right now. But now, how old is Spieth?
I think he's right there, 27. I don't know. I don't have anything in front of me, but
so you look at it.
He comes out of the same class as Thomas and all those guys that are probably right in there. And I just fired a number. I didn't have a specific number. This isn't like something like all right, I'm going to ask a specific question. I just made up a number. And from what I saw, and I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. What I saw today was somebody that is calm. He didn't get riled by anything. It didn't. Now, he got a couple of lucky breaks. The couple of balls that the one should have gone to the bunker on like 13 or whatever in that greenside bunker. But he is just calm. And I think you're right. I think he is the best player of this genre. I mean, you have.
Well, and if you look at his class, those guys that came out in the summer and played. So it was him. It was Victor Hovland. I mean, obviously he's really good. It was Matt Wolff. He's really good. You've got, but those guys haven't won 2 majors. And then the other guy that was the can't miss of that group that's not quite out there yet is Justin Suh. He's really good. He did better than all three of them in college, but it's just taken him a little time to kind of get his feet wet. He's going to be really good. But I think if you look at those guys who played that summer after college, Morikawa's got the big lead on them right now. And you look at Wolf and Hovland, they're really, really good.
Morikawa today, I'm gonna throw it out there. Here it is. I'm gonna throw it out there. This guy, he's gonna win 10 majors, and he's gonna win 50 tournaments if he stays healthy. If he stays healthy, he's gonna win 10 majors. I'm just gonna set 10, and he's gonna win 50 tournaments. That's how good I think he is. Just because his upbringing or whatever it might be. He is just, you don't see any emotion out of him. And you see a lot of emotion out of really good players. You see emotion out of a Justin Thomas, or you don't see anything out of DJ because he doesn't have any emotions, but you see emotions out of all these, the other good players. Rahm, gets fired up. But this Morikawa, he is just level. He is level, and I think that's what it takes to be successful, especially nowadays. Nowadays, it's different than it used to be, like when you and I were younger. But he has that demeanor that I think we're going to see for a long, long time.
Yeah, and I think his game is suited to major championship golf. He hits that. He likes to hit it left to right. So off the tee, it's a very safe play. He hit almost 72% of the fairways this week. He hit 78% of the greens. So he's a good ball striker. Both of those stats are ahead of the average of the field. And then he putts it really nicely. And so he has sort of that. He's not going to maybe overwhelm a golf course like some of these guys. He's not going to,
sure.
and that's okay. You would say, well, you can't play a cut at Augusta. We can argue that, but I mean, his game to me is just set up for major championship golf and big tournaments. And so, that's why he plays well in WGC events. That's why he's going to play well, like you said, in big events for a long, long time. And he is. He's a very level-headed kid. And Bernie, if you've met him, I've had a chance to meet him a couple times. He's just very friendly, big smile to everybody. And I can't, I'm really happy for him.
Oosthuizen's 38. He won the British Open. I'm going to call it the British Open because it's our podcast. 10 years ago. He's now got 8 top threes in the majors since then. Is it, and maybe you don't know the answer, but I really thought at the beginning of the week, and I told everybody, I was very adamant about it, that Oosthuizen's winning the tournament. And I wake up Thursday morning, and I didn't wake up at 4. Woke up about 7:30, and he's got the lead. He's got the lead after the first round. He's got the lead after the second round. He's got the lead out of the third round. I mean, this is the first time, I think, since I saw something since 2007 that somebody's led a major after the first, second, and third rounds and not won the tournament. Are you surprised by how he played today? Because it looked like he was in so much control of his game for the first 3 days. And beyond the first 5 or 6 holes today, he looked indifferent. He missed a short putt early, and it didn't look like Louis Oosthuizen. And I really, when I went to bed last night and I was texting with a couple of friends, I thought there's no way he's not winning the tournament. And, you can look at whatever you want to do, and Morikawa was supposed to beat him according to people or cities. I was surprised by how, I don't say he played awful today, but he didn't play very well. What did you think of what happened today?
Yeah, well, today he shot 71 on a golf course that was not a difficult golf course. This was,
Right.
the cut, I think, 1 over par. You noticed how green the golf course was. And so it did not play to a firm, fast, open kind of, seaside golf kind of thing. So it was different. So today to shoot 71, but I would say I wasn't surprised because the one thing with Louis and it's the putter. And what you said, he missed a short putt early. That just seems to happen, and it seems to happen on the fourth round of major championships. And I think even other tournaments where the putter just doesn't always help him as much as it helps other players. You look at that golf swing, you look at the way he strikes a golf ball, he's going to hit it as well as most, maybe better than most. But it just seems like when it really, really matters, the putts just don't go for him. And there are players that are like that. And you mentioned Jon Rahm. He's obviously he's made his share of putts, but this week wasn't his week on the greens. And if it was, maybe if Jordan Spieth's putting for Louis or if Jordan Spieth's putting for Jon Rahm, they're the champions this week. But, Jordan Spieth was playing his own game and he played very well. But I think for Louis, that's just the one thing that's probably held him back a little bit over the years.
So and I agree with everything you said. But for somebody not to be able to win in a major, but still finishes second or third, it wasn't like they had a complete meltdown. It wasn't like, all of a sudden, the nerves got to him, on the final round of whether it's the U.S. Open, with Rahm, or this week, with Morikawa and Spieth. What, as a coach, how do you? And I'm not saying getting ahead of Louis Oosthuizen, because Louis Oosthuizen already knows what he's been there. Eight top threes, in the last few years. But how do you change the mindset of, like, maybe one of your players that maybe, let's just say you're Oosthuizen's coach and all of a sudden, you've gone 10 years without winning a major, but you finish in the top three, in 8 of the, whatever it might have been. How do you change the mindset of a player to be able to get over that hump, to be able to get it done?
Yeah, and that's the $1 million question. I think for Louis. Now, tell me, Bernie, what happened on the 7th hole? He made birdie or bogey on the par 5. The 7th, what did he do?
Okay, so he drove it in the middle of the fairway.
Okay.
And he hit a block into the right-hand green side bunker, probably a foot, 2 feet from the embankment that's right there.
Okay.
It's a tough shot. He probably had 50, 60 feet, and he sculled it. He sculled it over the green into the bunker on the other side, and it buried underneath the wall again. I'm going to call it a wall. I don't know what they call it, but I'm going to call it a wall. So it buried. I mean, it went and buried. So then he's now hitting his 4th shot, and I'm thinking to myself, I hope he can get it out of the bunker, because I'm as we'll talk about later, I'm well invested in this Louis Oosthuizen. That's why we're talking about it so much. He then has to. I'm just hoping he gets it out of the thing, and I'm hoping he doesn't make 7. Then he hits it out of the bunker to about 60 feet, and then 2 putts for 6. Where Morikawa hit driver, didn't hit enough club to get it to the green on purpose, then chipped up to about an inch and a half, knocked it in, 2-shot swing where it could have been a 3-shot swing, and I think that's where the momentum of Oosthuizen left because of what happened. He hit that one block right shot, and I think once it was a 2-shot swing in that hole, I think that's where all the momentum went to Morikawa, and then Morikawa made everybody look at it. He made everybody look at it today.
Yeah, and then also on that hole, Jordan Spieth, he makes 3.
He does, and Connors in the same group.
Jon Rahm makes 3, so it's an easy hole, and Louis is a ball striker. He made a mistake. He didn't hit a good shot. And that's now, is that nerves? Is it whatever? I don't know. But it sounds, I think, it's just probably unfortunate that was the place that he hit a lousy shot. You look at what happened in Kentucky today. JT Poston picked a bad time to hit a lousy shot. But sometimes it happens. But I think for Louis, if I was coaching him, I probably would be spending more time short game. And he may be working a ton on his short game, but that'd be where the focus would be, hoping that when he's down to the wire in these tournaments because Mike, it seems like every major right now he's in the picture. So
absolutely,
let's work on short game a little bit more, and just see if that doesn't just maybe take him over the edge in one of these things.
Does a player get mentally fried when they can't get it done? I mean, he had a chance to win the U.S. Open, and he hit it in a lumberyard on 17. I mean, is this something that just rolls through your head like this is going to happen again? This is going to happen again. And I mean, and I know you're a coach, and I know you're not the player. But does it just do you think negative things as, I've been here before and I hit it in the shit and or did this or whatever. I mean, does that just keep flowing through your mind? I mean, and you talk about JT Poston today, and I want to touch on that in a minute. But does that? Can you ever get rid of those bad? I guess can you ever get rid of those bad demons?
I think there's certain people that can let it go, and there's certain people that remember. And I know there's some players that just remember certain courses. They don't feel good on that golf course. Certain shots or certain things that have happened, they remember that. And so, I think some players do have scar tissue in certain situations. And when that situation comes back up, it is harder for them. And I think a guy like DeChambeau, he kind of made a mess on that last 9 holes at the U.S. Open. Mm-hmm. Didn't kind of make a mess. He made a mess. Played like shit. Hit, you talk about sculling shots and doing weird stuff. And
He looked like me.
He was trying to mentally say, okay, it was just not something weird happened, whatever. But then did he take that, and he was trying so hard this week that all of a sudden he's now blaming his club company for his poor play.
Uh-huh.
So is there something going on there where there's some mental stuff going on in his head? And I don't know, but I'm just saying that was, all these guys make pretty good golf clubs. So I don't know that you're blaming the driver that you can't get it in play. So I think, there's certain guys that let it go. I think of Jack Nicklaus. I don't think anything ever bothered him, whether it went good, whether it didn't go so good, and most of the time it went well. But he, his strategy and his thought process, his mental game was so much stronger than the guys that he was probably playing against at the time. He's going to have the advantage. Tiger Woods in his prime, his mental game was so much stronger than the rest. He's going to have the advantage. You'd think a guy like Collin Morikawa, being as level, like you said, as level as he is, that's a great mental game for these kind of things. And you look at Jordan. Jordan plays great, but he is so up and down with his emotions that I think maybe that's why he struggled for a little bit. And he even, I think today, talked about scar tissue on some shots. On certain shots, he wasn't quite sure. He was remembering some shitty shots from the last 12 months. And so they do remember. They remember.
Let's dive into the DeChambeau. You brought it up, and I wasn't going to bring it up. Let's dive into it. What do you think of what he did when he called Cobra out on Thursday, saying basically that my driver's dog shit. It's their fault. It's not me. I'm Bryson DeChambeau. The club head looks terrible. I don't like it. We've had 8 prototypes. They can't fix it. He says that, and then the CEO of Cobra comes back and goes, whoa, slow down, dude.
Oh, yeah. And that was, I think, Bryson, he might be one of these guys that's a dumb, smart guy.
I give you that.
Does that make sense? He's a dumb, smart guy because he's supposed to be a rocket scientist, a physics major, all this stuff. But from a standpoint of just saying something that makes sense sometimes, he doesn't do a very good job. And to blame, when you start blaming things, especially your sponsors, it's probably not a very good idea. And I was glad that Cobra came back and said, hang on here. We're working on this. And quite frankly, if the driver was terrible or he just couldn't figure out a way to hit driver, why couldn't he just play a 3-wood around that golf course? His 3-wood still goes, what, 310?
Probably.
So why not just hit 3-woods, hit it in the fairway, and you're still past most of the guys anyway. So that from a strategy standpoint, that makes no sense to me.
I love the fact that and you knew it was going to happen. I mean, anybody in the social media industry or follows social media or whatever knew it was going to happen, that after the third round, Koepka comes out and says, I'm driving it well. I love my driver. I mean, that to me, I mean, Bryson is and you talk about a smart, dumb guy. I mean, a dumb, smart guy. Bryson set himself up for this Twitter thing or social media thing between the two of them. And, everybody, whoever follows golf on Twitter, go follow a Club Pro guy. I don't know the guy. I think Dahlby knows who the guy might be, but he's never going to tell me. And it doesn't matter. But he put out this funniest tweet the other day that he's been playing his Lynx driver, and he hits it like total dog shit. But he's not going to complain because he gets cost plus 10%, and it's an agreement they made. And that's what this. I mean, I just don't understand like how Bryson, and like you said, he's probably one of the smartest people. He's an SMU scientist, mad scientist, but yet he calls out his own sponsors. I'm surprised that like Cobra didn't go to Brooks Koepka and back the truck up on him.
Yeah, well, and I don't know, today Bryson shot a very smooth looking 65, 5 birdies, 13 pars. So, it's not bad, but I mean, you do look at his statistics. He only hit 50% of the fairways. The average field was 63. But he managed to hit 83% of the greens, and it just might be more that golf course, there was long grass, there was long fescue-ish rough. It might have just been a situation where that golf course didn't fit him very well, because there's times where he can hit 50% of the fairways and win a golf tournament, but if you're in that hay all day, even as strong as he is, you're not going to be able to get the ball out with control. But today it was fine, so I don't know what driver he hit today. Maybe he hit a Titleist driver, I don't know, but it seems to be that it was fine today. So probably, and I've said this before, I think Bryson, and I don't know how old Bryson is. He's still a young guy. He's in that
under 28 area. Yeah, he's in that under 28.
He's still a kid, and I think that one was a mistake that a kid would make.
I saw one of the best tweets today, and from a friend of yours and has been on our show before, Colt Nost, said that the Claret Jug this year will get a lot more sleep than it has in the last 2 years pertaining to Shane Lowry winning the Open. I thought that was an absolute genius tweet because, Collin's the guy that, is more subdued, and, Lowry's let's go to the pub, dude. Let's go to the pub. Let's have a Guinness. Let's do all that. And I think that was a really cool tweet today I saw.
Yeah, no, he's good. He's good. And Bernie, the one thing, I like Bryson. I've met him. I like him, but I just think he's sometimes maybe he just speaks before he thinks.
He lost a caddy. He lost a caddy because Steve, you teach. You have a junior world champ. You have 18 tour victories as a coach. Tell me that there's got to be a point to where, okay, enough is enough practice. You don't have to turn the lights on at Bank One Ballpark, or you don't have to turn the lights off on Yankee Stadium. There's time to relax, rest, get your body back in shape, go have dinner, go to sleep, and we'll do this again tomorrow. You got to tell me, there's no way that you've ever told O'Hare, Merritt, Aurelia, Martin Laird, all the guys that you've coached, you've no way you've ever told them we're going to stay out here and hit balls until we can't see anymore.
No, I will say there's been times where I've been out on the range, when the sun is going down. There's been times, but generally I'm more about quality work, less time out there, more quality work. And I think, days off are not a bad thing. I tell my junior golfers to take a day off once in a while. And, then I hear from the parents, because my God, he can't take a day off. He or she can't take a day off. Take a day off. You're not going to forget how to swing a golf club.
I remember the last time you gave me a lesson, and it did help. I just can't take it to the course. Excuse me, because I don't trust anything. But you watched me hit balls for 20 minutes, 20. And you said, okay, we're done. And you said, let's move on. Because, I agree with you. Over practice is, you can beat balls until you're blue in the face, but it's not, what are you trying to accomplish? DeChambeau hits, 300-400 balls, 300-400 drivers. It's just that I just don't, I don't get it.
When you caddied, hang on, Bernie, when you caddied, did you have any range rats, or was it more go play and then leave, or who was the guy that stayed out there, or did you have one?
No.
And did the guys practice much? We are talking about an era or two before this era.
Thank you for mentioning that.
That's okay.
Like back in my picture, you got my buddy Billy Judah back there. You can see it back there. Here, let me move it up real quick, and I'll move it right back down. Judah and I, we hit balls before. We wouldn't hit many balls after unless we had issues. RW, he's a big time practice guy, and you know him very well. He's a big time practice guy when the tournament's not going on. Once a round was over, whether we shot 65 or 73 or 75 or whatever, we're done. See ya. We're getting in the car, put the clubs in the back of the car, and we're headed to the hotel. It was.
Did you ever shoot 75?
Did I
ever shoot 75? No. Did RW? Did he ever post to 75, or was he gone? I would think he'd be in the car.
Let me think about this for a second.
RW wasn't afraid to head to the car when he wasn't happy.
Okay, so now you brought this story up. So we're in 1991. We're in Lake City, Florida, home of Pat Summerall, the great Pat Summerall before he passed away. And we're playing in the Lake City Nike Hogan Tour event. And he's got a bad back. Okay. The bad back happened we started on the back nine, bad back, and I think we bogeyed the first hole, of course. We usually do. That we make birdie and shoot 62. We bogeyed the first hole, and it got so bad that on the 16th hole or 15th hole, I have to get the ball out of the hole because he can't bend over to pick it up. We also have a chip shot on 16 that right when he's going to chip, I coughed. And he got mad at me. But anyway, at the ninth hole or 18th hole of the tournament, the ninth hole of the round, 18th hole on the golf course, he says, I'll see you at the car. I'm going to change our plane flight. And I said, we ain't leaving, dude. We're in Lake City, Florida. It's there's nowhere close to go. We're in Lake City, Florida. We're going back to Scottsdale, Arizona. So he goes into the clubhouse with the cleats, I go to the first tee. We shoot 30 in the back nine. Okay. 30. We end up finishing like 14th in the tournament. But no, if it would have been, that was probably one of the only times that we didn't just say, pack it in and move on. No, we never, I don't think we ever shot 75. We might have shot 74 and not quit, but no, never 75. So yeah, good point on your point, Dahlby. Yeah.
Should we talk about old JT and Seamus?
You know what? It was hard to watch. It was hard to watch today, and you once told me, at Phoenix Country Club 3 or 4 years ago, you told me you were standing on the 10th tee and he was playing with a couple of their tour pros. In the one tour
might
pro.
Have been playing with Colt. He might have been. Yeah.
Maybe. And the first player, second player, and the third player. And you said to me that this guy's driver had a different sound than a lot of people that you've seen on tour. And what did you mean by that?
Yeah, it just and I think, there's guys that you'll if you walk the range, there's guys that will just sort of be, okay, you look at it and it's good and it's all fine, and then you see a person and it's just like bang, and it's just a little different. And JT's a little different. I mean, he hits it hard. I don't think he's the longest guy on tour, but it just was a very compressed, really solid sounding shot. But you talk about scar tissue. Hopefully JT won't have scar tissue from what happened today. He's trying to win a golf tournament and he was in control. And
four up. Dahlby, he's four up with 5 to go. Yeah. I mean, let's get it to the house and let's move on. And he hits it out of bounds by literally, and if literally he hit it out of bounds by an inch. The rules officials had this wire, this rope going down, and he's like, "Are you sure it's not touching?" I mean, it's out by this much. This. Yeah. And and then he knocks it. He hits a decent force shot just to the right of the green, playing lift, clean in place. So he gets to almost put it on the fringe, and then hits an awful chip and makes 7. And then Hahn's involved, and Hahn backs it up, and then same as Power, who's trying to keep his card because he really doesn't have full status this year, but then he ends up winning on like the 5th or 6th playoff hole because Poston hits it in the water on 18, which is the 5th or 6th playoff hole, literally by another inch. I mean, it was really tough to watch. I mean, especially for a guy that was in complete control. And I don't know Seamus Power. I don't know JT Poston. You probably know both of them, but it was hard to watch the end of that golf tournament because I'd rather see somebody win a golf tournament than watch somebody lose a golf tournament.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you're right. And it's not fun to watch something like that happen to anybody. For Seamus Power, this was a huge day because he started the week on the FedEx list at 126. So he's one out of the playoffs if things were to have been done. Now this the Barbasol Championship. The points are not as you don't get as many points for the win, but he's now projected at 69, and so that's a huge jump in terms of the playoffs. But then also with the win, now he gets the 2-year exemption. He doesn't get some things, but he gets the 2-year exemption that now gives him some freedom to set his schedule a little bit differently. And I'm sure for him and his family, this is just a massive deal today that happened. And you do feel bad for JT because he's I know him, he's a good guy, and it's just you hate to see somebody give one away.
Should that? I know Merritt won this tournament, I think, in 18. Should the winner of this tournament be invited to the Masters?
I think as good as these players are on the PGA Tour, that I think that the members at Augusta, I think it would be nice for them to invite all the winners of all the tournaments. I know, the argument is that the full field isn't there, but it certainly doesn't. It's what 2-3 more players in the field. So yeah, I think that it would be nice if they invited him, and hopefully he'll find a way there. There are some good things that happen with a win. Obviously, the 2 years he's going to get to go to Maui to play in the Tournament of Champions right away in January. I think he gets into the PGA Championship via this win. So there's some good things that happen. But it's just it's you want to get to Augusta. And you feel like if you win a tournament on the PGA Tour, you should get to Augusta.
And he probably gets courtesy cars now at every event that he plays in for the next couple of years, correct?
I would think he's going to be just fine with the nice things. His agent can go to work and probably get him some nice deals this fall.
Hey, Chris Schubert, the executive producer on the show. Chris, I want to talk to you for a second about your show, gambling show that you have on All AZ. Are you there, Schubert?
Hello, gentlemen.
Oh, look at this.
We've added some.
Man, you don't shave either.
Show. No,
so we went from last. Dahlby had a full beard last week, or the last time we did this show. I've got this goatee, and you look like you just I don't know, whatever it might be. So a good friend of yours, Eric Cohen, who you host a gambling show, and we're going to mute Dahlby for a minute because we're gonna mute Dahlby just for a minute. He had. Well,
you don't have to mute me. You don't have to mute me. But I'm going to tell you why I'm going to stay out of this discussion.
Okay. Why?
On our radio show, we talked about the integrity program. I actually the PGA Tour sent out a class. I had to do a class. I did it just a couple weeks ago about the integrity program and kind of now the PGA Tour is going to start getting involved with legalized gambling. But as a coach, as a player, as a coach, as a manager, we're supposed to stay out of conversation. So I'm happy to listen, but I'm not going to say too much.
Okay, so all right, that
disclaimer out of the way.
He got the disclaimer, and he did this a couple years ago too. He actually read it word for word when we were back on the on live radio, but podcasts are a lot better. So your boy Eric Cohen made and I didn't know you could do something like this. Okay, he made a bet this year that Scotty Scheffler would finish in the top 20 in all 4 majors. Now he got the first one right, the second one right. He got the third one right, and then today he had to sweat out the fact that Scotty Scheffler had to finish in the top 20. Now he finished 7th, and I'm not going to say how much he won, but it did have a comma in it. It had a number and a comma, and then a couple of numbers, and then a period. I mean, so my question to you is he a good gambler?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that question. So we have our all AZ Bets videos that we do, and constantly in the pre-show, he's like, I watch him. But he's always got a great golf bet. Like even before we're doing the show, and we're doing it about college football, we pick baseball stuff, NFL props, we're doing all sorts of stuff. But there's always a quick 5-minute golf conversation that he and I have where he's got something. He's got somebody to beat to have a better round than this guy. He's just all over the place. He actually does pretty well. So I have to give him credit because he makes some good picks on this show. So we'll give him credit where credit's due.
He texted me last night. He goes, okay, there's this weird bet. Highest finish among people outside of the top 3 going into the final round. I'm like, who comes up with this stuff?
Yeah, he said, weirdest shit to bet on.
Yeah, he goes, do you like Rahm? I said, yeah, that's your winner. And he bet it today, and I'm going to take credit because if I would have said no, he probably would have bet it anyway. But I'm going to take credit and say that I'm the one that made him the money on Rahm. But hey, when do you guys do your show? What, once a week? Your AZ Bets?
It normally comes out on Fridays on the All AZ Sports YouTube channel where you see this show. We post that content normally every Friday. The recording schedule is a little off. Eric's been doing some traveling lately. But yeah, content all throughout the sports calendar. We're going to have some NFL stuff coming up here pretty soon. But yeah, on a weekly basis, we do different stuff. And there'll be some golf stuff coming soon.
Okay, now you see how we segue to your show? Maybe on your show, you could segue to me and Dahlby?
Absolutely. Right. I'll give you guys a shout out. No problem.
Schubert, I know you got to leave in about 9 minutes, so we're gonna finish this show up here in a second. But thanks for coming on, pal.
No problem, guys.
All right, Dahlby. Now you're not muted anymore.
Okay, I'm back.
I understand where you're coming from with that integrity rule. But I mean, gambling's become such a big thing, especially in golf. But it is what it is. You're leaving Monday morning.
Tomorrow. Yep. Tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow morning. Okay, so everybody knows that we're taping the show on Sunday now, which is all good. 3M, Minnesota. I know Sean O'Hare withdrew last week. Neck injury. Is that serious?
No, it's obviously it's something that's of concern, but it happens to Sean once or twice a year. He had been on the road for 6 weeks in a row, and unfortunately the neck just got a little off, and so I'm sure he'll be fine just with a few days off. That's kind of usually the recipe. But when you texted me and said O'Hare withdrew, I just said I literally said, "Are you okay, neck?" And that was it. And he's like, "Yep." And just it's one of those things for him. He's actually his spine is a little bit crooked, and so there's always going to be a little bit of stuff that he's got to do, and maybe just missed a day stretching. Who knows? Or he slept wrong, and it just unfortunately he had to withdrew because his game's in much better shape. He even said he's liking where his game is, and so I'm excited to see him. Troy's flying back from the Open Championship right now. The charter comes from Sandwich, England to Minneapolis straight through. So I'm looking forward to seeing him on Tuesday morning and getting to work and seeing if we can get one more real good finish before the playoffs start. That would put us in a really good position to maybe make a run at Atlanta this year. That's kind of the goal and that's what we've been talking about all year, is getting to the Tour Championship. That's something that Troy hasn't done. So I'd be really excited for him if he got to Atlanta at the end of the season.
Hey, I know things have changed. I know he's in the mid 60s or low 70s right now going into the FedEx Cup. So it used to be 120, 125, and then you got to 100, then you went to 60, and then you went to 30. Is it still the same way like that now?
No, so the playoffs, like you said, there used to be 4 playoff tournaments. Now there's 3.
Right.
And so the first one is the Northern Trust. It's at Liberty National, just outside of New York City. That's the first one. Then the BMW, which is actually this year in Maryland. The BMW Championship, every other year it'll be in Chicago, the Western Golf Association and the Western Open. So they're always right. The plan is to always bring it back to Chicago every other year. This year it's in Maryland, and then after the BMW it's the Tour Championship, but it goes 125. That's the first one. Then they cut to is it 70? Now you got me thinking. 70 or 75, and then 30. Hang on, then 30. Top 70, 125, 70, and then the top 30 go to the Tour Championship.
All right, bud. Hey, yeah. Podcast number two is over. Congratulations. Congratulations on your win with Gavin Aurelia at the Junior World. To me, that is the coolest thing in the world. I know, like I said in the show, you've had 18 victories, but I can tell in your voice the other day, this was a pretty cool deal. Congratulations again. Have a great week in Minnesota, and we'll talk next week, and hopefully we can talk about something that could happen with Troy Mayer or Sean O'Hare.
Yeah, and a shout out before we leave to our boys at Burrito Express. Yes. They take care of us. So
green chili breakfast burrito.
That's the one?
Green chili breakfast burrito. Yeah, that's the one.
All right. Here in Nebraska, right? You can find them.
Okay, so hey, real quick before you stop, here's what I found out. They have a cousin that opened a Jimmy John's in Lincoln, Nebraska. And we talked about this in the last show. The store was too big that they took Jimmy John's right in half, and the other half is Burrito Express. I told you I'd get to the bottom of this, so that's what happened. Thanks to Adam Blanco for telling me that, by the way.
That's it. I hope they're killing it in Lincoln.
Yeah, and congratulations to my friend Chris Severson, who successfully picked Seamus Power to win this week's Barbasol. Don't ask me how, don't ask me why, but he did tell me that Seamus Power was going to win the Barbasol, and he did. It's I don't understand it, but I'll give him credit for it.
That is shocking.
All right, folks, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to Bump and Run with Bernie and Dahlby, presented by Burrito Express, your local burrito joint. We'll see you next week.
Hit them straight, everybody.